What's up, everybody? It is Monday, January 18th. It is inauguration week. So far, everything is pretty calm, and let's hope it stays that way. We will have a new president on Wednesday, Joe Biden. I want to talk a little bit about Biden's plan. He spoke about it last week, 1.9 trillion new stimulus. Now, what I find interesting is that there was almost an immediate negative reaction in the market to this. And a lot of people out there saying, hey, it's never going to be that much. You know, Goldman Sachs said, hey, it's just going to be 1.1 trillion. I mean, folks, these are numbers that 1 year ago at this time, if we were talking about, you know, a trillion, 1.1 trillion, I mean, those kind of numbers would have thrown everybody into a frenzy, you know, because they would have been unprecedented at the time. But it shows how, you know, we've become so used to these big numbers that they're just kind of like, you know, just saying, oh, 1 trillion, that's not going to be enough. Believe me, 1 trillion is going to add meaningfully to already a very large amount of fiscal support. So I like the fact that the market is selling off here because whatever Biden's final plan is, whatever gets passed by Congress, it is going to add significantly to the current level of fiscal support, and it's going to be bullish. And all these trends that I've been talking about, you know, risk assets positive, dollar going down, treasuries going down, gold, commodities going up, equities with a concentration in materials and industrials going up. You know, so all that's still there. I mean, none of these fundamentals have changed whatsoever. All right, I want to talk. Hey, by the way, today is Monday. I sent out the new edition of MMT Trader. Go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com. and sign up for a 30-day free trial. Remember, I'm the only one who has an applied approach to MMT. All right, time to answer your questions. So somebody here said, hey, Mike, of course the government has to borrow. I mean, just look at every couple of years when we go through this shenanigans of the debt ceiling. You know, the government has to shut down because it can't sell treasuries. So I guess that guy's equating the sale of treasuries to borrowing. Look, the debt ceiling is a self-imposed constraint. That's a political thing that was put in place, and it just says, hey, the government can't sell any more debt securities beyond a certain limit. Congress has to authorize it, has to raise it. So somebody, as this person said, hey, you see, that's borrowing because they have to authorize the sale of more treasuries to get money. Let me explain something. Another rule, another self-imposed rule is that the Treasury cannot run an overdraft in its account at the Fed. This is very interesting because every single bank can run overdrafts in its account at the Fed. The Fed immediately covers those overdrafts. But in the case of the Treasury, for some reason, there's a rule in place that doesn't allow the Treasury of the United States to run an overdraft. And when you think about it, what is a deficit? A deficit is basically a very large and ongoing overdraft in the government's account. So it's kind of like a moot point. You know, the fact that the government deficit spends really kind of tells you that it runs a steady, ongoing overdraft, all right, which provides the dollars into the economy and the banking system, which are used then to buy treasuries. So that money continues to flow into the economy. The dollars are there, which are used to buy treasuries. So this is, again, this is not borrowing. You don't borrow something that you can create without limit. It looks like borrowing because there are these arcane rules that are put in place. Again, every commercial bank not only has the ability to run an overdraft in its account at the Fed, they routinely do that. And as a matter of fact, the Fed gives them 2 weeks to cover that overdraft. In the meantime, immediately the Fed provides the funds. That's, I mean, that's when we say loans create deposits, or loans create reserves. The bank, think about it. If you go into a bank for a loan and the banker evaluates your situation and deems you, a credit-worthy borrower, he doesn't call down to the reserve desk and say, hey, Charlie, do we have enough reserves there to lend to this guy, Mike? No, he just makes the loan. If the bank doesn't have sufficient reserves, it has an overdraft in its account at the Fed, which the Fed immediately covers, providing reserves to the system. That ensures the integrity of the system. Only the Treasury is not allowed to run an overdraft, which is ridiculous because it is the monopolist issuer of the currency. But the fact that the government most of the time deficit spends, that's like an ongoing overdraft. So basically what is the debt ceiling is an arcane rule that precludes the government from selling securities. And again, the sale of securities is just a reserve drain, all right? And the second rule, which doesn't allow the Treasury to run an overdraft in its account at the Fed. However, deficits are in effect ongoing overdrafts, all right? It's an overdraft for the government. It's a net credit for the non-government. I hope that answers the question. Unfortunately, because of the way it's set up with these rules, it makes it look like the government is borrowing. But again, you don't borrow something that you can create without limit. The funds to buy treasuries are always in the system. They come from government spending itself. Hope that answers your question. Keep the questions coming, folks, and I'm happy to answer them. Remember, go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com, and sign up for a 30-day free trial of MMT Trader.